What's up, beautiful people? Hope you're doing well. It's so great to have you all on the show on this beautiful Saturday. It has been obviously a very busy opening week of this election campaign. Yesterday, we really want to thank you to all the amazing messages we've received after our episode yesterday. We've seen a lot of people who are feeling what we're feeling and who all want to get into the fight as well. And that is so encouraging to see. And thank you for so many of the kind messages. That really does means a lot to us, if I'm being quite frank with you. We can't get to everybody, but we try. And y'all are amazing. We see the messages. We see what you're doing. We're seeing the emotions that you're sensing and feeling. And they really do mean the world to us. So thank you for that. And those who are sending us the PayPal contributions, dude, so thankful. Over the moon, grateful. You don't have to do it, but you do it. And it really speaks to your character and speaks to what you're willing to do for our country. So thank you so much. Again, not necessary, but very much thankful as it helps us do what we do here as well. And as a thank you to those people, we on our live show next week, we'll be naming out everybody name by name who sent us donations through our PayPal link and our contribution link, just to make sure you are shouted out, first names only here, but just wanted you to be aware that we see you, we're thankful for you, and that we acknowledge you sacrificing your finances for the betterment of the show and betterment of what we're seeing here in the country. So it really means a lot, being quite frank. So thank you for those. But we get into today's story. So last night, you would have seen on Moose on the Loose. I think a couple others were reporting on it. It was a wild story. And Paul Chang saying, hey, there's a guy here in Toronto who runs in the Conservative on Don Valley. If you take him to the Chinese consulate, there's a bounty on his head from the Hong Kong police. We can ship him out. You can get some money, $180,000 Canadian. It's all yours for the taking if you want. It's there. That was a story that broke last night. Man, this election is crazy. I'm not going to rehash that story last night. We'll kind of go through the timeline of what happened from last night till now. Or it's been more interesting when you see it happen. It's more so been the result of everything that's happened since then that we're going to hit on today. So we're going to start with the timeline. We're going to go right through it and show you what's concerning us here at the Elevate Podcast. This came from the Toronto Association for Democracy in China. A Chinese language media reported that Paul Chang, who is now seeking re-election at Markham Unionville, during his recent meeting with ethnic media outlets in his constituent office, spoke about HK 1 million bounty offered by the Hong Kong police on Zhou Tay that, quote, you can claim that $1 million bounty if you bring him into the Chinese consulate in Toronto. Tay is now the PC candidate running at Don Valley North. Last December, when Hong Kong announced a bounty on Tay and a few other Hong Kong diasporas, Foreign Affairs Office immediately issued a statement saying this attempt by Hong Kong authorities to conduct transnational repression abroad, including by issuing threats, intimidation, or coercion against Canadians or those in Canada, will not be tolerated. Canada will continue to stand with the people of Hong Kong. It is puzzling to comprehend why Chang, being an MP of the Liberal Party of Canada, does not stand on the Canadian side to condemn the action, but instead openly encourages such transnational repression. That's, again, from the Toronto Association for Democracy. It's a pretty wild thing. That we're seeing it in our elections right now, that there is a Liberal MP who called out a Conservative MP and encouraged followers in the area to go get him and take him to the Chinese consulate and get some money and get him shipped back to Hong Kong. That's what we just witnessed today or yesterday. That's the level of our politics here in Canada. It's not even about Canada. They're using the politics of another country, importing it here, and using their laws to then take that person out of our country and send them back. That just happened. This is not something that we should stand for. It is not something we should allow. It is not something that we should tolerate in the slightest. Mr. Paul Chang should be out of this race, should be investigated, and serious charges brought to him is what I'm thinking. That's being light. That's being light right now. That's what I think should be happening. And people who care about Canada, who care about Canada strong, elbows up, I imagine they'd agree with that. We don't want to see politics from a hostile nation impacting our literal candidates in this country. We don't want that, would we? Well, Paul Chang noticed this, and this was his apology. The comments I made were deplorable and a complete lapse of judgment on the seriousness of the matter. As a former police officer, I should have known better. I sincerely apologize and deeply regret my comments. I'll always continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Hong Kong in their fight to safeguard their human rights and freedoms. What? What? That's an interesting little twist there. You're just imploring Canadian citizens to take a Conservative MP down to the Chinese consulate, get him deported back to Hong Kong into Hong Kong police officials who are essentially an extension of the CCP. But all of a sudden, you're now chanting for the freedom of Hong Kong from Chinese oppression. What? Tell me about that. How did that work? This guy's a fool. And Kevin Vaughn saw right through it as well. This was no temporary lapse in judgment, Kevin says. Even a child would know better than to encourage others to kidnap a Canadian citizen from an oppressive regime in exchange for $184,000 of bounty. Thank God he's no longer a cop. He shouldn't be an MP either. This will tell us everything we need to know about how serious or not the Liberal Party takes foreign interference. This was a textbook example of transnational repression. Yes, it was. And it was such a big deal, it was such a big story that even the American political commentator, Charlie Kirk, had this to say. A foreign-born Chinese Liberal MP in Canada encouraged a Chinese language audience to kidnap his conservative opponent, who was a Hong Kong refugee, and hand him over to China for bounty money. If Canada re-elects the Liberals, they'll end up becoming a state of China. Yes, we will. And I love how Charlie broke it down here. Just to really, let's lay out the facts of the matter. This just happened on Canadian soil. And you voted in the Liberal Party. You're going to get more of this, and we're going to get more of China. That's what we'll get. And so when we talk about yesterday and Josh, I got all emotional. It's this stuff that it made me emotional. Because this election hinges on this stuff. Let's talk about it for a second. Mark Carney wins. Alberta will start the process of leaving Confederation. Mark Carney wins. Quebec will start the process of leaving Confederation. And if Alberta goes, Saskatchewan will look to do the same. 3 provinces out of Confederation right there. We won't even talk about the economics of it. Let's talk about unity for a second. They're gone. Liberals are showing no interest in curtailing the issues with China, Chinese triad groups, Mexican cartels, in dealing with that whole issue. Not interested in dealing with it. Haven't talked about it in the campaign, haven't addressed it, won't be doing anything about it. Quite frankly, we've only talked about on the show of how close and tight-knit Mark Carney is to Chinese officials and to Chinese connections. So we'll see more of it. That happens. Donald Trump knows and sees this. He doesn't want more of China directly on America's borders. So when it happens, he ratchets up the economic policies and he essentially dismantles Canada economically until they're forced to join the United States. And then Americans will then come in and clean it out themselves. That's what could likely happen under a Mark Carney win. And none of that is an exaggeration. None of that is hyperbole. I wish it was. I really wish I was lying for clicks, but I'm not. We've gone through the data. We've gone through the stories. We've gone through how we've gotten to this point. And that's what I'm saying. A vote for Mark Carney is a vote for literally the end of our country. Or at least a vote for Poilievre gives us a shot to try and maintain our sovereignty. We're able to go kick China out. We can start building pipelines. We can start standing on our own 2 feet, start developing our military, start being a strong partner and ally of the United States. So they don't have to go ahead and try to clean up the China problem themselves. That's what we're seeing. That's what this election hinges on. And Charlie Kirk laid it out here. And this is what was really frustrating to me, is this was a big story. This was just a snapshot of a bigger issue, but was symbolic of so many of the problems we're seeing with the foreign election interference in this country on a consistent basis over the past handful of years. CBC covered the story, and here's 25 seconds of it. Don't worry, there's nothing more, nothing less.
Liberal candidate running for re-election in Toronto has apologized after making comments about a conservative counterpart. In January, Paul Chang seemingly encouraged people to bring conservative Joe Tay to the Chinese consulate so they could collect a hefty bounty. Tay had a bounty placed on him by Hong Kong police in December. On social media yesterday, Chang called his comments deplorable. You're watching CBC News Network.
That's it. That was it. He may have just encouraged people to go take a Canadian citizen down to the Chinese consulate and have him shipped to Hong Kong. He might have just done that, but it's all good. He said his comments are deplorable, and we move on. CBC News, we're out. We are in a fight of our lives here, folks. I've said it here multiple times, right? Where it's not only a fight between the Liberals and Conservatives, it's a fight between ideologies. It's a fight between what identity our country is going to be. Are we going to be subservient and lose our sovereignty to some other entity? Or are we going to go the direction of fighting for ourselves and standing on our own 2 feet? That's a question that you have to answer yourself in this next election. And not only are we getting that, but the establishment really wants to sell us out. As they've shown how they've installed Mark Carney into the Liberal Party and how the propaganda arm of the Liberal Party, which is our current media landscape in this country, are covering for them every step of the way. This is a bombshell issue that happened in this campaign at this very time. And 30-second clip, gone. It didn't happen. He apologized. He's all good. Okay. Well, then naturally your focus shifts to the Liberal Party and Mark Carney. And haven't heard anything All I got was this. Mark Carney opens his campaign office in Nepean a week after announcing he'd run in the Ottawa riding. He's addressing volunteers and asking them to help him win a seat in the House. No interviews, no press conferences, just volunteers at his riding office. And that's all you got today. We are 24 hours since this happened and still nothing from him. This was a very serious issue. People's safety put at risk in a country where they came to flee oppression and have freedom. And you're doing nothing about it? And then someone in your party is threatening that freedom of that person, and you're doing nothing about it. Nothing. Having even so much as said, this is ridiculous. This is un-Canadian. This is not Canada strong. No. In that case, we have to let them go, because this is not what the Liberal Party is about. Nope. Haven't got anything like that. We got silence. And so if we want to apply the measure that they've been using to apply to others for the past 10 years, let's do that, shall we? Liberal Party has engaged in an ideology over the past 10 years that silence is violence. So I will take this and his silence with no condemnation as him endorsing the behavior, and you're going to get more of this. We're going to have more of China in Canada. And if you're a Chinese Canadian, you're not safe. They will be coming after you because your prime minister has no interest in saving in protecting you and protecting your rights. Nothing. We have Pierre Poilievre yesterday talking about how he wants to deal with bail reform, talking about how he wants to go after criminals and not let them back on the streets. He's addressing law and order. And you're not getting a dang thing from Mark Carney on that. So if you're a Chinese Canadian, you have to think about it. Do you want to live in a country that is safe for you, that will protect you against the oppression of Beijing? Or do you want to live in a place where China can get to you at any point? So you make sure you play well. Don't say anything about Xi Jinping, or you will be going back to communist China. That's what this election hinges on. And between now and this episode posted, if Mark Carney says anything and finally comes out with a statement on this, even so much as alludes to it, I'll make sure to correct the record. But as it stands now, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on a Saturday, March 29th, we've got nothing. Nothing. So that's the stories for the day. We have Pierre Poilievre, who just went through Winnipeg, doing his thing there. We had our friend Jasmine Lane on site with the media, and we're excited to see her do that. So we'll see what happens moving forward as he continues his trek across the country. But anyways, have yourselves a good one. I'm out.